Okay.
I guess we're live.
Hey, everyone.
Yes.
Hey, everyone.
Hello.
This is the final presentation of today, a candid discussion on the future of staking as a service with 0% fees and centralization. So, Julien, take it away.
Julien?
Hey, so
Are you
Yes.
moderating? Who's moderating?
I mean,
think
Felix is moderating,
is actually
right?
the one
Yeah,
that's...
I think
Yeah,
it's
sorry,
gonna-
Felix, take it away. My bad.
No worries. So, hey, and welcome to this panel on 0% fees, centralization, and exchanges. I'm glad to have some known validators here with me. So there's Julien from Stake Capital and Awa from Cryptium. I think, yeah, maybe it's best we start off with just a round of introductions. So, Julien, do you want to go first?
Yeah, sure. So I'm Julien Bouteloup. I'm the founder of Stake Capital. So Stake Capital, we've been doing staking as a service for a year and a half now, and we also provide other services on the top of the staking, such as liquidity provider, market makers, and arbitrage.
Awa?
Hey everyone, I'm Awa, one of the co-founders of Cryptium Labs. Cryptium Labs started as a validator. We are currently operating mainnet on Tezos, Cosmos, and Kusama, if that counts. We initially started as a security-oriented validator based on sysops. After roughly a year, we're still operating it, but our team has transitioned mostly towards more of towards the R&D company. So we're still operating the validator on the side, but actually our main thing is that we develop and do research on protocols.
Okay, cool. Yeah, and me, myself, I'm Felix Lutsch from Chorus.One. So what Chorus.One is doing basically is also running this staking as a service. And at the same time, we're looking a lot into research around proof of stake, how to make proof of stake better and maybe more fair. So this is going in this direction of staking derivatives, for example, that I'm sure we're going to cover in this talk too. I think I'm also writing the Stakeonomy newsletter, so for people that are interested in staking and like getting updates, please subscribe. But let's get started with the panel. I think as the title suggests of this panel, it's about zero fee staking, and we were supposed to have Sunny on here, who was basically the first guy that initiated this 0% fee staking movement. So now we sadly I cannot direct this question at him, but maybe I'll just throw it out there for the rest of you. So do you think, like, I think already on the last panel people were talking about zero fee staking, exchanges will do zero fee staking. Do you think zero fee is like a trend that will stay there, so validation will actually become free and people will have to look to make revenues elsewhere? Or do you think there will be a way to charge a fee and just provide a secure infrastructure for staking?
I think it's unavoidable that in the long run, the fees tend to zero. But I think that long run is just pretty far from what we currently at. So that in that long run also is complemented with when security of also infrastructure operating actually secure staking services is already a commodity. So we already have figured out the standards on through, for example, using HSMs, non-HSMs, secure way of operating keys. So a lot of these things are still not in place, but in that long run where all these security standards have already been figured out, we already know what the perfect formula is for operating safely all these networks, then I think it will be expected that the fees get drawn to zero because everyone will have access, hopefully, to all these standards. And then only way for people to compete with each other would be through either offering different services or either through marketing or through like more, let's say more aggressive tactics, like just joining fees to zero and attract delegation and so on. but I still think that's gonna be in the long run. At the moment, we don't really. I think so. We still have, like, for example, we still have 95% of most networks being run on cloud. So there's a lot of things that have not been figured out.
Yeah, I think the vision. I mean, Aya is probably talking about like maybe medium or long term zero fees, but for me, I think it's already there, and most of the validators, they all decreasing their fees, or they all starting to offer 0% fees. I mean, Stake Capital, we decided to move zero fees on Tezos as well, and a few other networks. I think the zero fees is is inevitable, like Aya said, but it's also like short term. Oh, well, yes, so sorry. And the thing is, like, for example, like all those exchanges that are pushing the zero fees, for example, like on Loom, on the Ethereum network, we could see like Binance capturing a lot of proof of stake, and also like on Tezos and Cosmos now it's already happening. For me, the 0% fees make sense for user acquisition and building other services on the top of it. So for example, we released Stake DAO. So Stake DAO is a DAO that for revenue sharing, where we focus on staking derivatives, and you can actually provide staking derivatives and charge 0% fee. So you provide other services on the top of proof of stake networks. But yeah, I believe that
So okay, I
is
understand that just diminishing the fees to 0% is an easy way to acquire stakers, people like delegating to you and so on. My criticism to this move is just more that we're still very early in the landscape of proof of stake. Right now, proof of stake protocols are still very novel. And it is not that novel for people who are operating these systems because it's been already for a year and a half, almost 2 years. But it is very novel for the community, for people who hold these tokens. They don't. When we started, we did like a lot of work in trying to educate people how staking works and like, for example, how their decisions could influence decentralization and so on. And the problem with just moving it to zero fees right now is that we're still in this point where we have a community set who are still used to how proof of work works, and now they have staking tokens, and that decisions really affect, for example, the security, the decentralization of these networks. But right now, we're not really spending time in educating them and telling them, hey, your decision really influences this in the long run of this network. While at the same time, we're just trying to compete for staking. And I think it's a very effective mode to just drive fees to zero because it's like easy, right? But at the same time, what you're saying is that you're actually not telling people that there's all this work behind. You're basically kind of communicating that security is free. You're not really incentivizing
people. Putting security or putting the risk of the chain on behalf of the people that are going to stake is kind of like really very surprising to me. No one actually care about security or the health of the network from the delegator perspective. They just want to make money. So if you're telling someone, oh, please don't stake to someone at 0% fee because it's affecting security of the chain, I mean, who cares?
No. So I'm not telling you to go for that strategy. What I'm saying is that people should know that people should just know, but whether they choose to pick a zero fee validator or not is really the personal choice.
I mean, it's like people should know when they use Amazon that most people that work in Amazon, they don't get paid much money compared to a local shop on the street that's probably making and getting more salary. I mean, the thing is, like, delegators, they all want to make more money, and they will stick to the chain that is the validator that is actually offering the cheapest cost, the cheaper fees. And this is the reality of the proof of stake, saying that, oh, we cannot have 0% fees because then the chain is not secure. I don't think it's the problem for me. It's the implementation of the chain is probably not the best.
Yeah, I think the idea is maybe if you all stake to this that will be one person that has the highest return, right? So this is kind of the idea. Oh, there will be a lot of centralization because maybe this exchange has much better UX, can earn more, and then through that you affect the security, right? But obviously it is a competition between the validators who can earn most return for their delegators, maybe even I would also say so. But at the same time, I do think that there are some token holders that care more about other things and that are willing to delegate.
Oh yeah, so I totally disagree with all token holders just wants to maximize the returns in the short run. That is actually not what we see. There are different profiles of delegators, and I would actually say it depends on which network. But I can speak best for Tezos because I've interacted more with the community in there. There are mainly very different classes. So there's a class of people who are mostly in there for the returns in the short run, and those for sure they're gonna pick up zero fee validators. But there are also others that are looking into these kind of assets as more like a long-term investment. And for them, they will try to be a little bit more diligent and then do so. Of course, I'm not expecting everyone to be like that, but that class of stakers does exist, and then they hold quite a bit.
I agree with that, but I would be very, very surprised at the percentage. I would say that 90% of all the stakers, they actually want to maximize profit. And then obviously, because it's a free world, and people will have different opinion on staking, and they can say, okay, I want the health of the networks, but most people, they will probably jump into they will chase the cost, and this is already in traditional finance or traditional businesses. This is the case, and I don't actually see why in blockchain it wouldn't be the exact same scenario. I mean, when you see like Binance people staking on exchanges, they will not try to stake on other UX or UI if it's easier for them to just stake on Binance and get a 0% fee.
I think it still exists. Also, you mean you're talking about like maximizing the returns, but at the same time, the risks are different, right? I guess maybe because right now we still haven't seen a lot of slashings, but there might be some more, or maybe we need to increase the slashing penalties or
yeah, I agree.
attack
I mean, I think the reason,
each other or something. But
I think the reason why we don't actually, I think for now, because it's a very early ecosystem, that the reason why people still stake in validators that are charging 5 or 10% fees is because those validators have been working very hard on UX and UI, so then people can easily stake. But as soon as there will be like different products, such as easy onboarding as exchanges, then most people will probably tend to stake for the cheapest one because the UX and the UI will be the same. So the easy onboarding would be the same. At the moment, people are paying for easy onboarding.
Well, we don't really work in UX for validators, so I can't really tell. What we're saying is the way we look at validation is that we really operate those protocols that we understand at the core. So it's a lot more about the technology and the line in there, and then the people who pick us mostly for other things like not just staking. Also for the security aspect of it, because we run a pretty decorrelated setup in comparison to the majority. But a lot more because they look at us like the contribution of the long term of some networks. So let's just conclude that I don't expect that people would not run zero fee validators. I also don't expect that people would, for the good of knowing the consequences, would not pick them. But let's just say that it just sends a message to some problem, underlying problem that, yeah.
So you've been talking about this like protocol development and like long-term focus, and I know Cryptium has been working on this programmable staking on Tezos. Do you maybe explain a bit what that is about and kind of how it helps validators to differentiate maybe?
Okay, so programmable staking is one of the features we're currently exploring at Cryptium. It is relevant to the Tezos protocol. It has mostly two aspects, and then it really depends on which one the Tezos committee accepts. We don't really know, but there are different design paths. One design path is that simply purely tackling the security aspect of the network, which is allowing, for example, validators to split their keys. Like currently in Tezos, you have one single key for all three functions, which is for governance, voting for consensus, voting, governance, and for spending, which is pretty restrictive if you want to, for example, build different, let's say, OPSEC policies, or you want to have access to keys for voting, and then not expose the keys for spending and so on. And the other aspect of it, oh, Felix went down. The other aspect of it is that Tezos has a virtual machine. So the other aspect of programmable staking would be to enable these functionalities to be managed through smart contracts, which at the same time unlocks it to many other possibilities. You could program different logic. You could program, for example, on-chain payment of rewards. You could program some kind of like non-profit initiatives, like a percentage of the fees that your baker produces gets committed to this address, which is a donation address. You can do all sorts of things. There are many ways implementing this, and we're currently at the stage where we have explored different implementations. In the upcoming week, we're probably going to release some insights on like how do both paths look like, and then so the community can like take a look, get informed about the consequences or the implications, benefits, and so on, and they can make a decision on this. But this, for example, programmable staking, should it take the form of actually enable smart contracts to do so, then you'll be able to enable stake derivatives. So derivatives over staked assets. So which is, we hope that it's going to be quite interesting, especially if you're interested in DeFi use cases, where there's a common problem right now in proof-of-stake networks where the asset is actually for staking, so it's for securing the network, and it is in the best of interest for the network to have as many assets to stake as possible. But then having assets liquid also might lead to maybe there's just a limited amount of value that they can accrue or utility they can accrue with this asset. Then if you enable something like programmable staking, people will be able to issue tokens against staked assets and then freely trade those without having to unstake and then compromise the security of the network. So that is the idea behind programmable staking. But yeah, at this point, we don't really know. Tezos has its own governance process for the ones who don't know. It's fully formalized, so people vote on the actual protocol hashes and actually the future version of protocol. And it is it's like 4-phase voting period. It's and really the community has the most to say in there.
So the staking derivatives is already being built in Tezos?
You can not represent staked assets at the moment. Not as far as I know.
But it's planned to be added, as you guys are working on it.
Well, I mean, we are exploring the feature, but what it's planned to be added, we can't release. So here's the thing. In Cosmos, for example, you have one core development team, and then the on-chain governance system is like more like a signaling platform where people vote on text proposals. And then when something is voted favorably, you assume that somebody's going to go there and then develop on it. But on Tezos, it's quite different. Tezos, we have multiple core development teams. Our team is one of them. But what gets adopted has to go fully through the governance process. And at this point, even if you propose it, we wouldn't be able to, we're not sure whether people are going to vote it or not. I mean, whether it's planned to be adopted or not, it's hard to say. It's really up to the community what they prefer.
But if it would exist, the way to issue a staking derivative is just to write a smart contract on Tezos that issues you
so
some token,
should
right?
this feature be adopted, then you'll be able to basically just write smart contract, and then it will be multiple things. So the baker will be able to carry it out. So the baker will be able to deploy a smart contract that mimics all the functionalities the baker wants on the smart contract. And in addition to that, you can, having that interface, you'll be able to issue other smart contracts that, for example, represent stake assets and so on. But yes, you will be interacting with smart contracts, which is also another benefit.
Maybe that's
kind of incentivizing bakers to
So I just wanted to maybe have Julien talk a bit about, because I think Stake Capital DAO is basically one of the first kind of issuers or DAOs that wants to do this kind of staking derivative. And maybe you can explain to us a bit how do you issue these liquid staking tokens, and is it like how does the Stake DAO do that? And would you also do it on Tezos, for example? Would you use programmable staking to do it, or is it like a separate system?
Yeah, so so Stake DAO it's a revenue sharing DAO where we, instead of keeping the fees, we send those fees into a pool, and then people that have fractional ownership of those Stake Capital token can capture the fees. So what we've been building is we are going to launch across 2 different networks. The first one is LivePeer, and the second one is NuCypher. But basically what we build is like a liquid pool. So it's a smart contract where people, instead of directly staking their asset on the chain, they send those assets into the pool, and then the pool stake those tokens directly into the chain, and then we issue a liquid asset that represent a 1-to-1 token. So for example, if they stake 1 LivePeer, if they send 1 LivePeer into the pool, then the pool will stake those LivePear, and then we'll issue 1 liquid LivePear to the person that has been delegating. So then we can track how much yield has been making into the pool, and then the person how much. So then the person can either claim those rewards to the pool, so they can send back the liquid asset and then withdraw the LivePeer token with the withdrawal period, or they can either trade those liquid assets on the market, or they can also do on trading for 1-to-1 tokens. For example, we have a liquid Uniswap pool where people can also trade. So you have people that can bring liquidity into the pool for 1 LivePeer, 1 liquid asset, 1 liquid LivePeer. So we don't actually build staking derivative or planning to build a staking derivative like has been working on directly on chain. But for us, we've been building non-custodial liquid pool.
And does this pool? So do you issue a pool for every network, or how does this work? Okay. Yeah, I don't know exactly how LivePeer works, but that sounds
it's the same. It would be the same as explaining, for example, like Compound or CDI, except that CDI is a percentage of the pool. So people that stake DAI, they receive a fractional ownership of the percentage, fractional ownership of the pool. Or in this scenario, you receive a 1-to-1. So it's more like a DAI. If you stake 1 Tezos, then you receive 1 liquid Tezos.
Well, so we're on the same page. You can already do derivatives of stake assets if you, for example, are willing to give up on so we actually have to transfer the funds to whoever operates this issuance or whoever operates the service. So this is actually a thing that works. What I was talking about before is about making it where there's no custody requirement anymore. And everything happens on chain and programmatically, so you can there's more accountability to it. There's no other risk of people exit scamming or running away with the funds, these kind of things. But yes, currently right now you can still do derivatives of stake assets in Tezos if you are willing to just send assets to people do with exchanges, right? Exchanges they can simply accept that, and the UI will handle it, even though underneath they're managing one way or another. But the UI can just tell you you actually have this derivative or something like that.
Well, I mean, let me clarify. I think we're talking about 2 different things. What I'm talking about is the smart contract. Even if we might actually keep kind of a master key to make changes into the pool, it's trustless. I mean, trustless it's smart contracts custodial. So meaning that the person can at any point of time withdraw, send back the liquid asset, and then get his LivePeer token. It's not like signing a contract or legal document for sending those token somewhere. They actually on chain and they stay on chain. It's like saying you want to stake. Instead of staking on the chain directly, you just stake on a smart contract that is on the same chain. So it's not like it's not a custodial solution. It's a trustless solution controlled by a smart contract. But
But-
And then the SCT
All right, I
that
just
we
don't know
add,
how I don't know how live peer account models and live peer works, so I can't
I
really
mean,
speak
it can be a live peer or like any Ethereum network. You could do that also on Cosmos, or you could do that on Tezos if you the smart contract.
No,
It's
you
like
cannot do that right
like,
now on Tezos.
well,
On
it's
Cosmos, it's the Cosmos. The thing is, it's I don't know what the distinction is because everything is slashable. On Tezos, there must be a distinction because there are regular delegations which are not at stake, and there are delegations for security deposits which are at stake. So on Cosmos, everything is at stake. So of course, you can be trustless if you just make a delegation. That's it, and you receive a portion of the fees.
and then we use the SCT token to capture the fees, because there was a question about how Sunny was asking about the SCT token. So this one is something that for all the people that have access to the SCT token, they can capture fractional ownership of the fees that we generate across all the different networks that we've been validating.
So we validating now being stake capital and not like the DAO, or right? So I guess also Sunny is asking this here, right? Can you kind of delegate to another validator, or does it have to be stake capital to
Yeah,
get
that's a
this
good point,
token?
actually. Like the vision is to accept any validator to participate in a stake DAO. So someone that is offering a cheaper, I mean, the DAO will decide what is the best validator or the best infrastructure to validate for the DAO on the specific chain, and they can provide the service, and then they will capture a percentage of the fees that were generated across on the specific chain.
So it's like a whitelist.
It's a bit.
Say this is the validator.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, kind of a whitelist, but I think this is more like medium or long term, because then you will need to bring some mechanism of slashing mechanism, because you don't want anyone to jump in and provide a 0% fee, because so it's the cheapest one, but then at the same time they can also get slashed. So
Yeah, then it becomes its own system. I guess my idea would be, why not have this like native in the protocol in a way that you don't need to kind of build a separate DAO.
Native in the protocol, it will be the best. I think will be the best, but I mean, the idea is to be to capture a market cap or to capture a competition. So if you provide that solution before it gets native, then it's why not?
By the way, is there slashing in live peer?
In live peer,
just me trying to learn a little bit about it.
No, in live peer, you capture, there's a yield, there's a payout every single day. So what happened is you need to pay every 22 hours. You need to pay the payout, and then you also capture the transcoding work, so the transcoding fees. So if you're not online, then it means that you just don't capture money. You don't capture the future yield. Yeah. So you can miss payouts. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, cool. So like this obviously very interesting topic. I think we kind of can switch to something else, but maybe as a note, we're doing this liquid staking working group. Julien is also definitely part of it, and he's gonna talk a bit more about stake capital DAO probably too in that. And we're doing like research around staking derivatives. So for anyone that's interested in that, please join that. I posted a link right now in the chat for the Telegram for that. I think another thing I wanted to talk about basically is that now you see these networks, or on some chains you have to do more than just providing like the architecture to validate and participate in consensus. So for example, on some chains you have to like run oracles or something else, for example Terra or Chainlink, and it seems like validator needs to do more and more. Do you see that also, and what are some examples you have witnessed so far? I guess maybe live peer is one of them.
Wait, say again the question. Sorry, I couldn't hear you. Okay, go ahead. Or go ahead.
Is the question of what other
what kind
services, what other, let's say, added value things validators do?
What do you see coming? Or
Okay. So what is clear is that after a year and a half, almost 2 years of validation, just operating the infrastructure seems to add very little value to the networks. The other had a question is, while you're independent validator and you're trying to also, work your way out so you can capture delegations and compete in this market, it seems to be that people have concluded that unless you're VC and you're running for yourself, it's not profitable and you can already capture that much. So people have figured out ways, for example, to offer additional services like wallet, better UX for staking. Like some people have used it as like a way to promote other things, such as in the case of using stake derivatives. Few people though, although some of them are starting to contribute to the underlying protocol. I'm not sure whether Figment is one of them, but it seems to me that Figment is writing proposals on Cosmos governance. We are doing that for Tezos at the moment. I don't know if what's gonna come next. Staking itself seems to be pretty boring, so. I hope that more people are gonna be involved with other things than just staking. So I don't know, a little bit more on offering other services. Maybe more people will be jumping on the game of issuing more novel products and services if, for example, remote staking is adopted in Tezos. That would be pretty cool because that really incentivizes bakers to try to write smart contracts and use Tezos as a smart contract platform, which is what's the initially intended for. But hard to say at the moment.
I think one big thing that I see, and I think also Julien, I'm going to let you talk a bit about it in a second, but it's this kind of this, if there's a DeFi chain and there are some DeFi applications, right, you have these liquidators that maybe like if their CDP gets risky, you liquidate it, you get a discount and you can kind of make a return on that, right? And obviously a validator are very well positioned to carry out this role because they're like the ones proposing the blocks. So in a way, maybe you can earn returns on these kind of things. And I know, Julien, you have mentioned it in the beginning too, the arbitrage part. And I think you're working on this arbitrage DAO and did like this first Aave flash loan recently. So maybe do you want to talk a bit about what you did there and what your plans are in this direction?
I think, I mean, what we've been over the past few months, we've been primarily getting involved in DeFi products. So we've been focused on decentralized finance. So like getting involved in market makers or liquidity providers to different pool mechanisms. So Uniswap, Kyber, Compound. I mean, I'm talking about mostly on Ethereum chain, but that's what we've been focused on. So on stake capital, we believe that we can utilize our network power to run or to profit from those mechanisms. So the arbitrage is one of the team in stake capital. We've been doing arbitrage for quite a long time, and so we decided to publicly announce it that this will be also a feature of the stake DAO. So basically what we did a couple of weeks ago is we did the first, I believe it's actually the first decentralized it's not actually under collateralized, it's uncollateralized flash loan, meaning that we borrow a loan or we borrow a liquidity from a smart contract. Now we can actually, from today, we can borrow 1.5 million US dollars or even more than that. But the idea is like we borrow this liquidity without providing any collateral. And then we capture an arbitrage opportunity on the network. So there was like some pair on Compound or Kyber that we could capture opportunities. And then we send back the loan with a percentage of fees. And this was actually made all in the same block, meaning that you can actually borrow liquidity without providing collateral as long as you can reimburse this loan in the same block. Otherwise, all the transactions are reverted. So what prevent from running away from 1.5 million US dollar? The question from Adrian in the chat is that if you don't reimburse the loan in the same block, then all the transactions are reverted, meaning that you cannot run away with the with the jackpot of money, because otherwise all the transactions are being reverted. And then the fees on this borrow, on this liquidity that you borrow is actually 0.36%. So 0.36%, meaning that if you borrow $1 million US, you will need to pay a fee of $3,600 US, meaning that the arbitrage opportunity that you are chasing should be actually higher than this amount of fees that you pay. And also the goal with arbitrage DAO is that if you've been involved in arbitrage across different networks or even in traditional finance, I mean in this decentralized finance, is that you will all competing for the gas. And so the idea, yeah, it's actually on Ethereum. I can send you something about it. But the idea is like, instead of competing with the gas cost, the idea was to build, and now there's a DAO for that. And I think the DAO has more than something like 500 ETH. The idea is like we provide, it's a pool of liquidity, and then when we need the liquidity, we can tap into the pool, and then we can send a percentage of the fees inside the pool.
So you're saying this competition for gas, but obviously if you're the validator proposing the block, you don't need to pay the gas, right? I can just include this transaction.
So this is actually something that people, that's the reason why we've been going that way on the fees across all the different networks. But yeah, if you propose the block,
okay.
Yeah, I mean it's interesting because I've been involved in mining in Ethereum and also like in Bitcoin back then. But Ethereum in mining, when you mine on the traditional proof of work, it's exactly the same. If you have 5 or 10% of the power on the mining side, then you can actually propose those blocks, and you have a hedge against the competition. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean that's super interesting. I think probably also the protocols should though kind of try to design this in a way that makes this harder. This kind of, or do you think it's fine? Sorry, I'm actually lagging.
Sorry, so again, because I couldn't hear you.
Yeah, sorry, it's lagging a bit. I was wondering if you think this is okay like this, or should the protocols try to like make it harder for the validators to do this kind of thing, right? Maybe like see transactions that, like if someone else does this flash loan and wants to include it in my block, and I just take his transaction and take it for me, you know? That's
what do you mean
obviously
taking transaction, or you mean like copying? You want to copy the transaction and do the exact same?
Yeah, instead of. Yeah, exactly, and it's just mine. Isn't that the big problem if I can do that? Because then, like, I am the one in power, you know, and I don't know. I feel like this should be something where you need like some confidential thing that this is not as too easy to happen.
Well, I mean, you can actually bring privacy. For example, there was something like on Ethereum with Aztec protocol. Well, they made the first private transaction. So I guess there will be some stuff around like ZKNAX transaction and all this stuff, zero knowledge proof transaction. So might be something that you will not be able to copy as someone chasing arbitrage opportunity. But yeah, that's a good point. I think you got different validators, different chasing different purposes. For us, we focus on DeFi, building on the top of existing protocols, and you might have other staking as a service people that are involved and focused on the research of the protocol, so building directly on it, making proposal. But our team, we are more like on DeFi side, so arbitrage, market maker, liquidity providers, and then we want to benefit, we want to send, and we want for everyone to participate in those different products. So that's the reason why we launched StakeDAO.
Okay, cool. I think, yeah, that was interesting. It's an interesting topic, definitely. And I think, yeah, a lot of things will happen there, right? And especially if staking comes to Ethereum and you have all this DeFi and staking interwoven right now, I think there's no really chain where you have staking and DeFi because everything's on Ethereum. So I guess there will be like some more interaction.
Yeah, I'm actually.
What is your bet? When will Ethereum go proof of stake?
Yeah.
What's your bet?
Like,
well, I think if you can already run like ETH 2.0 like on price level. So I'd say like all the stuff that is running, for example, Aztec going private transaction, etc. It will be for me will probably like after summer or something, couple of months. Not saying that it will be live. I'm saying that we'll know a date for going to E 2.0. But you had a good question, Felix, about I think interoperability will actually bring a lot of different new DeFi products, because you could actually think. I mean, on my side, for example, market makers or liquidity provider or arbitrage, you could actually think about arbitrage across different chains, and this is something that will be very interesting for us. But yeah.
But like the same thing, this uncollateralized loan, or what you just said, that only works if it's on the same chain, right? Or can that work? Is this possible like across chain? It's hard for me to imagine that.
Yeah, it's possible as long as you can lock the liquidity somewhere, and you are 100% sure that this liquidity cannot leave someone else. You could, for example, borrow the liquidity on Polkadot, and then do the arbitrage on Tezos, where the logic could actually stay on the Ethereum smart contract. As long as
you have to need something like the IBC protocol for that to actually happen on chain.
Yeah, as long as you
right now.
Yeah, I mean the vision. I'm not talking about right now if it's possible, but no. Otherwise,
but wouldn't you need like the confirmation from the other chain to come back, so it can't be in the same block?
Yeah, that's a problem. That's a problem, because, for example, if you do the borrow liquidity in the same block, this is actually in the same block, and you got like 12 seconds or 10 seconds. But if it's actually interoperability, I'm not sure if you can actually do that on the atomic swap or like in the same block.
Okay. I think that's really cool. Maybe strayed a bit from the original topic, but that's fine. I think one thing I also wanted to talk about is, I think that was the session before ours. The panel was about these incentivized testnets, and I mean, I think all of us are in some extent or in some different protocols are active in these incentivized testnet, and obviously we've been to Game of Stakes last year. So how you want to maybe share a bit how you perceive this going, and like what teams are doing well, and maybe what are like your advice to other validators participating in these networks, or even the protocols if they are doing something wrong. Just like what's your take?
I think in the upcoming year there have been many protocols that announced that they're going to launch mainnet this year. I think probably at least half of them are not going to launch anything this year, but the ones who are planning to do so, they are already starting their incentivized testnets, which is good. Seems that they are taking Game of Stakes as a reference, which is also, I would say, is probably one of the best incentivized testnets out there that's been so far. There are some drawbacks, like it's really hard to mimic real network conditions with an incentivized testnet. People, for example, on Game of Stakes were running setups that you would not run in mainnet, but you were running it because you optimized for winning in Game of Stakes. So there are these kind of things that when you're designing the testnet, you should keep in mind what really the objective is. What I see right now is that all these networks that are doing the first testnets is that they're just figuring out something very obvious, which is nobody else has run the software before they did the testnet. So they do a testnet and they realize that, oh, this node crashes for whatever reason. So it's like a lot more like pretty primal debugging and just general things, which is good. It's good to force other people, third parties, to run your software. But it's not really like, one of the main purpose of the centralized testnets of testnets is that you really get to figure out if there are like critical bugs that you could have not figured out otherwise. Not things like UX about running or setting up a node, or things like just random bugs that are not really critical, or it's not the critical, but it's just the basics of engineering. So that's like one thing to keep in mind. The other thing to keep in mind is that it isn't proof of stake networks are going to be as decentralized as the Gunholo said. That's one thing, and decentralized testnets should have enough incentive for people to participate in them seriously, and the incentive should be good enough. So later on, even if I was not a VC and did not invest into this network as an initial contributor, I should have good chances with like the tokens that I win if I participate seriously to be, ranked pretty highly later on if there's some kind of like weighted bet stake system later on. But at the moment, what you're winning in the decentralized testnets is like, first of all, you are contributing a lot of time to debug other people's software. You also spending a lot of time figuring out this consensus is broken. But at the end, what I earn is like a few hundred tokens, which is okay, fine. I can make it to the Genesis set, but unless I spend a lot more time in like doing some bidding behind and then gaining people to delegate to me and something like that, I have basically no chances compared to other people who have bought like 10% of this token allocation initially to later on compete in the world staking. So like, which is strange, because if I really was serious in this testnet, I really contributed, I would say, a lot more than, well, I guess that's relative now. Like technical contributions also.
Yeah, I would actually agree. I think you're totally right there. It's some people that you actually have to put in a lot of work, and then you get very little tokens. I guess the idea is maybe your reputation carries across and you get more delegations or something like this. But I don't know if that's actually happening.
Yeah, I don't know if that's actually happening as much. Yeah, maybe.
Julien?
Maybe it does.
I think you so your question was, what do you see after, or what do you see with all those game of stake, like new networks launching? I think that the game of stake kind of style that was initially started by Cosmos, and game of stake and Cosmos, I think this is actually new ICO business models, where as Awa mentioned, that most people have been trying and to run those game of stake style new network launch, but probably not even half or 50% of them will actually launch something. So I've got 2 points about that. I feel like this is actually a new ICO. People, they all say, I mean, most of the people that are now starting game of stake, this is to raise their token price, so they actually get people involved. But this is the first thing. So I think it's kind of the ICO model, and this will actually disappear. And the second point is, I don't actually understand why a project, for example, a project that is trying to do decentralized real estate, should actually spend 2 years building its own chain. And for me, I feel like a company that is building real estate should actually focus on real estate and then hire a consulting company to build its chain. I don't actually see, I feel like now the fact that you're starting your own business, your own game of stake or like style or chain, and then you focus 2 years of your time building and then debugging, it's against of what you're trying to build, because you should actually build real estate, or you should build like a project to do automation of car or a carpooling system. But it's like saying, oh, I want to build a company in a startup, and I'm actually building HTTP connection to make it faster for my business. I mean, I don't actually see why a team should actually be focused on primarily building and debugging and then getting inside the code if their business is not about building a chain. I mean, for me, it's like, it's always been strange, and I don't actually understand why. And I think it should be like a consulting company.
To that point, I think this, how people make decisions on what ventures they embark onto is like pretty hard to answer. But it seems to, right now, the tendency seems to show that if we just take something like the Cosmos SDK and then like launch it with like some kind of like, it's a very simple logic on top of it, and then you have your own blockchain that is for a specific purpose, it seems that a lot of them are not really accruing much value in itself. Oh, but it's just my perception. So maybe
that's my point. I mean, if you
already determining that it's not very valuable. So.
I mean, but then you go to those channels. I mean, I'm trying to be, I'm a devil, but advocate. But the thing is, like, then you go to this channel, and then 100% of the discussion is about how to fix the bug in the chain, and not about how to build a business. So I think if your question was about what the future of those game of stake style and also launching those networks, I think this will actually disappear. That was like the ICO. People were all trying to start their own ICO. Now they're all trying to start their own game of stake style for getting people involved. Because then if you actually start your chain, then you get top 20 or top 40 or top 50 of the best validators, and then they bring actually attention, and then more people involved in a project. So I think the game of stake style, like launching new network, is a way for attracting from user acquisition for the project. So it's a free marketing.
Yeah, that's an interesting point. I mean, is that kind of a critique on the Cosmos SDK model here, or?
No,
I
not
always,
because of the Cosmos SDK.
Sunny knows my point, and we've been discussing this on a few different panels around the world. And I think it's the easiness of starting a chain, but also then people just focus on trying how to debug and how to get people involved in a chain, rather than actually focusing on the business models. It will not bring healthy project to the Cosmos SDK. You need people to bring value, and you don't actually need people to focus on technical aspect of how to start.
I think we can conclude that all this tech is still extremely experimental. The idea, I mean, in the ideal world, the Cosmos SDK would really be used very smooth. You can just write the application logic. But right now, and this happens with all the other stacks, right? Not only the Cosmos SDK, we're starting a chain where if you want to launch your own network or you want to build a substrate chain or whatever it is per chain, the amount of resources you need to do that are equivalent to starting a new chain. So it really defines the purpose of this is an SDK they can take and play and plug and directly. So far from right now, probably the conclusion is that the resources required, even using the Cosmos SDK, which is more mature, the substrate is equivalent to starting a new chain. So we're still far from like actually having the proper SDK. We can really focus on only the business side of it and application side of it.
Okay. So what's your guys' approach? So are you running on these incentivized testnets? Maybe for us, I can tell you, like, of course, we are on the Celo one and Oasis and Solana right now. And I think, yeah, you're seeing like a lot of the other validators. Where are you guys active, and who do you think is like doing well?
So I can share some insights on this. We are operating Kusama.
So what's your question, Felix, again?
What kind of are you? Yeah, what kind of testnet is Stake Capital doing?
We're currently operating Kusama, NuCypher, Coda, kind of on and off, Celo. Near tried the incentivized testnet, it just got postponed indefinitely. So I'm assuming now we just have to wait. Solana is doing pretty well. Solana apparently has extremely good developer UX. Those people seem to know how to engineer good,
if you look at the team,
yeah. Solana is doing pretty well. I think that is. Did I miss anything? I think I didn't miss any. It's like Kusama. I heard it's a nightmare. Like 4 releases overnight of software.
Yeah, and all made by Gavin.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, we
definitely see a pattern in here.
I mean, I think it's a good point. It brings back what said Sunny is asking top 5 or top 10 validators on which networks you are involved. The answer will probably be the same, because it's kind of like it's like a cartel or like kind of a mafia style. As soon as one of the validators
I don't know actually if that's the case, because we choose networks by different. I would say we focus a lot more on the novelty of the protocols. I don't know if every other validator chooses them the same way.
Same for us, but
also we're not VC, so we decide to not invest in any of those tokens.
Yeah, I would say like our focus is on the tech, but my point is, for example, if Cryptium Labs or Stake Capital or Figment or Chorus or Forbo, they choose one network to validate on, it's probably very likely that other validator will follow up and will try to also get involved. Okay. So my point about saying that the answer of this question about which network are you looking into from the top 10 or 20 validators is probably going to be kind of like the same answer. But yeah, we focus on Solana, Polkadot with Kusama, NuCypher, Centrifuge, and the other one Near. We try Near, but time consuming for something that is never showing up. It's very difficult. And then the latest one will be for us also ETH 2.0, where we're running some research as staff around it.
Okay, very cool. I think we're supposed to wrap up soon. At least that's what I've read in the chat. Yeah. Is there anything else you guys want to share? Oh yeah, there we are.
Hey, yes. Anything else? You can. Any final thoughts?
Everything's good. Thanks so much for joining, everyone that listens. And yeah, check out the links we sent in the chat.
Yeah, thank you all
Thank
so
you,
much
guys.
for and yeah, for the audience who don't know, most of these people are in Europe, and it is very, very late for them. So huge round of applause for them for waking up or staying up this late to participate. So thanks again, and
I think it's very early.
it's very early.
We're very early then.
Yeah, what time is it over there for you guys?
No, it's not very early. It was like 7
Into
a.m.
9 now.
It's 9.
Yeah,
Okay,
now
got
it's
it.
turning into 9. Yeah.
Got it. Cool. Well, tomorrow we are starting at 8:30 a.m. and we'll be joined by Prismatic Labs discussing they're leading development on Ethereum 2.0, and there will be a lot of hands-on workshops. So make sure to read the technical documentation that will be sent in an email, and hope to see you there.
Right.
Awesome.
Have a good one.
All right. See you guys.
A good one.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.